Welcome back. You're watching Signature Television. This is Signature Morning. And of course, we are diving into the first discussion of the day, Thursday, the 14th of November. We're going to talk about WASH. WASH, of course, is a panacea, the public and private sector's collaboration, a panacea to sustainable WASH development and sustainability. And we have with us live via Zoom this morning, Mr. Jones Awolowo. He is a WASH policy development expert. Good to have you. Good morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be part of this program. And I want to say thank
Mr.
you.
Awolowo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you very well.
Yes,
you hear
we
me?
can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Just give us an overview of what you think the private sector, or what role the private sector can play in WASH development.
Thank you very much. It's a good thing that we're starting from here. And in every society, every government, and our country is not exceptional. Government, can you hear me? Hello,
Go
can
ahead,
you hear
sir.
me? Yeah. Government has a lot of things to do, and funding is an issue. There's no enough money to provide social goods, public goods, and any other thing that the government wants to do. And so the need for private investor to partner with the government is very, very important. Now, we need to emphasize the fact that participation or private partnership in the provision of public goods is an important part of making the goods more easily to be delivered efficiently and effectively. Now, the whole essence of private partnership is to ensure that certain business methods that were being done in the private sector are now being conducted in the public sector. And that is why you see there are a lot of differences. You have commercialization and you have privatization. Now, commercialization is a way of saying you are moving that public company to take advantage of private ways of running the government business. While privatization is total transfer of assets of the government to a private individual. So in any way you want to look at it, the important thing is that the private sector is very, very germane and very important in providing public goods to any government in the world. And this has been as early as 1960 in America, the partnership UK in the early 90s too, and many other countries have been using it. Now, there could be an euphoria as to whether there is a success in a private partnership. Yes, there is reason for them to be afraid or have some concern about private partnership of a public goods because private sector is based on profit making. And so money is not sentimental. It goes to where it makes its money. So, but the fact still remains that there are different ways of private partnership with public government. We have service contracts, you have management contracts, you have concessionaire, which we call lease after match. And each of them has a list of time. Whichever way you want to look at it, the most important thing is the legal framework that allow for the implementation of the private partnership in any society. Are you there with me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So what is really, really important is the legal framework. Do we have the legal the law that allows private participation in provisions of public goods. If we take water, for instance, water provision is basically the job of the government in quotes. However, government cannot provide the enormous amount of money to provide the water for every citizen of every state. And that's why it is important to partner with the private sector. However, we get thinking by looking at it that, okay, why should it be the private sector? Or if you want to define and say, why should it be public, which is basically the government and the stakeholders there? Why should it be a partner between the government and the private sector? Why not bring in the citizen, the community that is the user of this product? And this is why we then look at it and say, okay, can't we have a public-private community partnership? In other words, the lead now become three. The public, which is the government, the private sector, the investor, and then the user, which is the community. This makes the partnership holistic and then give the community the ownership that is required to provide quality services and monitor where the money goes. The main issue here, or some challenges with the PPP arrangement, has always been procurement issue. Not taking everybody along at the conception of the project. You need to get people to know what you want to do. We have seen most states in the country borrowing money from the World Bank, the French Development Bank, African Bank. Now, the issue there has always been that this money is people's, the citizens that is going to pay for it. But are they aware that you are borrowing this money in the interest of the state, in the interest of the citizen? And is the citizen ready to pay back this loan? These are some of the reasons why community partnership is very, very, very important. Even if they are going to borrow the money, they are going to be aware what is going to be used for and how they are going to pay back. What we have in the case of government borrowing has always been government borrowing the money in the interest of the states. And we find out that studies have shown that most of the money collected or fund collected do not really produce the expected results in most of the states that have taken loan. And a very good example is the current soil wash, which is about $700 million for about 7 states, and has been on for about maybe a year now. And if you go and understudy the results of this money in those states, you might probably find out that the access to water, water supply in those states are still very, very, very low. And I will not want to make mention of names of states, but I believe I am speaking the minds of most of my people in this sector. Thank you very much.
Okay, you've given us the background and we've talked about the importance of the private and the public and also the community. But I wanted to know, how can the community contribute effectively, in a PPCP model for WASH? And what are the example of successful programs that have been done or successful examples you could give us, ways of which the community can contribute?
Thank you very much. The basic points of PPCP, public-private community partnership, is to enable the community to take ownership of some of those water systems or sanitation facilities that are in their states. When something is your own, you manage it. When you say it's public, we Nigerians believe it is government owned. Now, when you say community now, community is coming together, either through community trust fund, either borrowing from other people, either bringing technical partner in terms of private investor. The community, will definitely manage whatever they have, and they are ready to pay back because they are aware what they are using, what they are collecting the money for, and where the money should go. Most of community management partnership are usually based on who is ready to drive it. And I'm going to give you a very good example. In Lagos, the waste management situation was so bad in Lagos. Now, Fashola government came up with, through one engineer addition on the Lawman head then, came up with the idea of saying, let every ward in the state have a waste management vehicle, and the states, through the private investment, supported them, and each of the ward has a PSP arrangement, with in which they were able to collect the waste in your house and then take it to where they deposit it, and then you make some payments at the end of the day. Now, in the case of water supply, I have always been saying it. I happen to have worked in almost about 10 states in this country. And a very good example is the River State. I think we started it in 2013 or 2014, thereabout. Ataba community in River State is an island in the ocean. The state government was able to build a water treatment plant that can produce about 500,000 gallons of water per day, but it was not effective because it's on the island and there was nobody to run it. So I happened to work with a USAID project under SUWASA then, and we had an agreement with the WCA. So WCA is Water Consumer Association, and we were able to put in place a structure where the community therefore engage a private partner to run the system for them. Now, within the community, the community charge connection to the house is 700 naira. And then if you are using the public tap, you pay 400 naira. The total population of that community then was about 2,000. And the total building in the house, in the community, was around about 200. We have a big house very close to the lagoon then that also supported this idea. So invariably, the community was able to take over the system and started running it. They engaged a private partner and then run the system. Now, there is an agreement with the private partner that you cannot charge more than this amount for us. Now, let me also add that the power supply is not from national grid, so they use diesel. So the guy who is the private partner has to produce the water, distribute the water, and then make money for himself. So what in that agreement then we put there is that, okay, you can take this water either as a pure water or sachet water or bottled water and take it to the urban center and sell, while you still maintain the quantity of water, quality of water being produced with the community. And these are just a very good example. Also in Jigawa State, there is a Barikin area where I also work under EU project. We also have such systems there. Every month there is a scorecard at the public place where they put all what they are doing, all the total amount collected, the total quality of the water, issue of connection, and also it is a management style that has to take ownership. The community needs to take ownership. Now let's take it to the urban center now. Let's take it to urban center. Now, I remember very well I was in Anambra too. I can't remember the name of the community, but I know that it's a big water system plant. At the initial stage, there is a son of the soil, a someone of the community that helps to run the system. He lives abroad and send money to them. So when I got there, I spoke with them that look, you can't continue to let people take ownership of this system. So we trained them, we trained some group of them, ask them to now start understanding why they need to do the plumbing part of it, how to service some knots, how to maintain, then operate hard chemical and all that. And these are what they were doing. And they started charging some few amount of money to ensure that the system, I'm very sure that system is still ongoing. Of all the three I told you, I have been their advisor for quite some time, sometimes up to 2022 that I've left some of them. Some of them still call me
Okay,
for
Mr.
advice.
Wallowa, I wanted to ask you this question. From our headline this morning, on the Blueprint newspaper, we have that federal government to deploy PPP to bridge $10 billion investment gap with regards to power. But I want to know, because we understand that we have different challenges, in implementing this PPP. Is there any sort of budget by the federal government as panacea for this sustainable urban wash?
Before we get to you to answer the question, we just head for a very short break just to finish off with some technical issues that we have right now. So just to stay on the line.
Thank you.
You're welcome back. We apologize for the bridge in transmission, but that's because of some technical issues. But we continue with the discussion this morning. Hopefully, Mr. Awolowo, you're there, right? Mr. Awolowo, can you hear us? Right, we're still talking about the role of PPP and PPCP as a panacea to urban wash. And it's very important because I wanted to ask him a question, Charles. Today, the federal government is planning to deploy $10 billion with regards to power, to bridge the gap for the PPP. But I'm just wondering, is some sort of that money also deployed for urban wash, or is it just for power? What do you think?
No, I don't think that the federal government is, giving attention to water, sanitation, and hygiene as it's given to power. I mean, everybody speaks about power as a yardstick or to address or to tell whether a government is doing well. If there's no power, everybody screams because it's something that that you can easily, relate with. But it's not the same as health. If you look at the budget, in fact, the budget for health is, I think, is the least among the things. Even security is higher than health. If you talk about education and health, is amongst the least budgeted amounts for the 2024 budget. I hope that changes because, again, this is about the time
really sad,
that we're going to start looking at different state governments putting up budget for the state assembly and, of course, the federal government. So I'm hoping that the attention given to power would also be given to health.
Okay, I think we have Mr. Awolowo back. Can you hear us, Mr. Awolowo?
And I can hear the discussion. Now, let me add.
Okay, just to reiterate, the question I asked you earlier. Yes. Do you think there is any sort of budgets from the federal government with regards to the PPP, PPCP solution to sustainable water, urban water?
Let me firstly clear the ground now. The exclusive right of the federal government is only on water resources management, not water supply. The state government is the one that provides water supply services and sanitation services. What the federal government do is to provide policy direction for all the states to follow. Now, in the case of PPP arrangement, each state can decide to follow their own path. Each state will follow the state water law, which almost all the states in Nigeria must have developed. You understand? Now, whether there is a community management approach or private sector participation approach is a different thing entirely. I know that the Federal Ministry of Water Resources is the one that guarantees most of the states in some of the loan grants that they are using in all the states. And that is basically for water supply services, water sanitation and hygiene services. That's what they subdued. They do not do any water resources management. Now, PPP is not a bad thing. Let's understand ourselves very clear. Public-private partnership is a very good model when it is executed or implemented based on the provision of the law. Now, before you can do any PPP arrangement, you must have done a lot of things: feasibility study, get the legal angle ready, get a procurement method fine, get all necessary things must have been done for a PPP arrangement. And there are a lot of PPP sources. The only problem we have with PPP in Nigeria is usually, and I need to be very clear about this, procurement issue and government interference. Almost all the law in Nigeria is one of the best you can have in the whole world. Nigerian laws are very good in drafting law, but implementation of the law are usually the issue. Now, how do you ensure that the person that is that will get the project done is the right person? That is procurement issue. Now, how do you ensure that it is not a political contractor that gets the job? Now, another school of thought, I said that, look, in PPP, you cannot give your enemy the job to bring money. For instance, if in an APC government, you now have a PPP private investor. You understand? People argue from that angle. But the law is very, very clear. There is what we call value for money in PPP. Whoever that is coming to partner with you must have done his own job, must have done a bankability of the project and ensure that, yes, what he's putting his money for is worth it, and that people are ready to use the water or ready to pay back whatever is going to put them. So I do not against PPP. What I am only preaching in terms of alternative to PPP is that bringing the community, the people, the user of that project, the user of that goods, let them have ownership of the job. You understand? Let them have ownership of the job. If they do have ownership of that, of the goods, then it is difficult for you to circumvent, for them to provide low quality, for the private investor to do anything. And I'm going to give you a very good example. In Cross River State, Calabar in particular, there is this contract, Alltech, in I think 2017 or 2015 or thereabout. Now, Alltech has a management contract. At the beginning of that contract, it was one of the finest in Nigeria. Now, you want to ask yourself, how is it fine? He did metering, was able to put meter in all the houses. The supply was being done. There is what do you call it? Monitoring and evaluation. There is performance management sheet. Everything was done. This was ongoing for about 2-3 years when there is government problem. You now find out they were not paying OTE, and OTE continue to produce, to supply, and monitor. And then you want to say that person is a private person. You understand what I'm saying? They are not paying him again. And for good 3, 4, 5 years, the project was going on without being paid. The man was not being paid. You understand? So it becomes an issue when government intervene completely or in a way to circumvent the contract. And then you have to get people who is contract manager, get skill, train them. I think I'm one of those who Lagos State trained them. Were about 5 of us that was chosen from my organization in the state, and they send us to Canada, to Uganda for a lot of. We were really trained to manage contract. You understand? So the state government or whoever must have people to manage the contract. What they do in most cases again is that they get a private consultant to manage it, and that again is an ethical problem. You understand? Because the consultant that will be chosen will definitely be friend of the government. And so in everything, if we allow through system to take place, you will see that the product, the value for money, what private sector will do will be very, very enormous. It will be very good. But like I said, the concern is that is the community, is the user, are they part of those process? Are they asking questions? And this has always been my concern. If you say you are spending $10 billion on electricity, who are you giving the money to? Or where are you going to get the money? Who is going to pay back? Are the people really ready to stand and say, yes, we want this money? Are we not, can't the people of the country raise $10 billion from other source? Why do we have to go and borrow? I have always been saying it. Ownership of a public goods makes it the best thing for everybody. And that's why community partnership is very, very good. You know, when people own that goods, when they believe it is our own, you understand, it cannot spoil. Nobody can do anything anyhow. They will be ready to pay. But where you now have government thinking for people without having their own concept or consent, then that calls for a serious. And if you look at my presentation, the whole thing, you've seen that they have eliminated the local government completely. Local government does not have anything to do with all this thing. And everybody lives in a local government before you even think of the state. So what are we really doing? Are we not supposed to? And we believe that local government is they call it, what do you use to call them? No? They call them grassroots. These are where the people live. We know ourselves that if you want to build school within a community, is it within that community, that local government, you can identify a professional, a retired professional in engineering, a retired professional in accounting, a retired professional as a surveyor. They have them there. You understand what I'm saying? So the whole essence of PPP is just because we are not sincere to ourselves. The concept of PPP is not bad. We need to understand that, and it is a good thing that we understand the fact that government cannot provide everything for us, and that there is need for them to bring money from other sources. And that is why private investors, private participants is very, very also good. But you must also look at the community, the people in that community who wants to use the goods. Who are they? What is their own thinking? What do they want? I give you an example. I was a manager of a business district, and the business and the people in the area are saying, look, we don't want water. We already have our stream that is we are using, and political this thing cited a water works of about 700 million naira in that community, and they refused to take the water. There is a lot of issue about it. It takes me a lot of time. We have to reduce the charges. We have to do CSR. We have to get them. A lot of things was done before we can convince them to have about less than 10 connections into the houses. We have to do public tap. We have to start asking people to man the public tap to ensure that whoever that is collecting pay a very, very small amount of money. Just to get them away from their stream water, which they believe is even very, very better than very clean than our own. You understand? So a lot of things have to be done in terms of getting the people in Yoruba. It is said that arometak in Dobenu, three-legged stove cannot destroy or pour away the soup. Arometak in the three-legged stove is very stand, and it can, if you put your stew on top of it, it cannot fall off. So, on the basis of that, I believe that we need to start thinking of getting the people to get ownership of most of the public goods. Thank you.
I wanted to understand, because one of the examples you cited earlier is non-payment by the federal government, for the workers. But I wanted to get, is there anything like post-award monitoring of actual PPP performance delivered? Because one thing is to work, one thing is to pay for work being delivered, and also to monitor whether the work is really done. So is there anything about monitoring?
Yes, there is a monitoring part of it, which is the regulatory commission. In all the law, not the water law in the state, there is a regulatory commission to be set up. The regulatory commission is supposed to be an independent agency in all the states of the federation. But what we have is that people, I think Lagos State started having the first regulatory commission in 2007 or so, or 2008. The first one was done. I think I was part of it. The second one was River State. I also had the privilege of being part of it. Now, if we have a regulatory commission in place and it is assumed to be independent, that assumption is an issue. And I need to state this very clearly. To have an independent regulatory commission, you must have a fund elsewhere that will make them not to run to government, because the regulatory commission is supposed to adjudicate between the government, the private sector, and the user. Where government is paying the regulatory commission or regulator, it cannot be an impartial judge. So one thing that is very clear is that there should be a regulatory commission. In fact, if you have a regulatory commission, it is assumed that it will give confidence for the private investor to take charge of the sector. Now, again, what is the capacity of the regulatory commission? And I keep saying it. It is very, very, in Uganda, for instance, the regulatory commission is in the Ministry of Water Resources, but they exercise certain level of
All right, Mr. Jones, many thanks for your insights. We truly appreciate your thought on the show. Mr. Jones is a wash policy development expert, giving an insight into the development around the WASH initiative. Many thanks for your time. We're back shortly after this break. Do stay with us.